Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah, amma ba'd. Welcome back to Saturday night halaqah. Welcome to season number 2. Alhamdulillah, we safely made it last year. Inshallah, we look forward to another prosperous year of knowledge. Some of you actually attended maybe most of last year, because we started in the beginning of last year, and some of you came later, inshallah. So we look forward to have all of you and even more people come and benefit, inshallah. Tonight, I want to talk about a very special group of people. There are 70,000 people who will enter Jannah without any reckoning, without any questioning from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They will enter Jannah directly, no punishment, no torment, nothing. And in order to understand who these people are and how they became qualified for this honor, because after all, this is what we want. We want not just partial salvation, we want full salvation on the Day of Judgment. And we know in Islam the criteria of salvation is very clear, and it's very simple as well. It is nothing short from pure monotheism, that you worship God, the Creator, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We call him in Arabic Allah. He is the Creator, you worship Him, and you do not associate anyone in your worship. You devote all of your worship to one God, and you attach yourself, your heart is attached to this Creator and no one else. This is really the criteria of salvation on the Day of Judgment. However, these people seem to be doing a little better. The 70,000 people seem to have something special. So in order to bring the point home, we want to go over a story, and the story will tell us who these people are. So there's a narration you find, it's an authentic narration you can find in famous books of hadith like Sahih Muslim and other collections. And it's quite a story, so let's go ahead and start. So it says, An Husayn bin Abdul Rahman, and excuse the Arabic, some of you don't know Arabic, but I do that on purpose because first of all, for those who know Arabic, but also I want you to also be attached to Arabic and to realize how important it is. Maybe it could be an encouragement for us to learn a little bit more Arabic as we go. All right. So, An Husayn bin Abdul Rahman. Husayn bin Abdul Rahman is the narrator. He is our narrator. He's going to tell us what happened. Now this man, he lived not at the time of the Prophet, peace be upon him. He lived 2 generations after the Prophet, peace be upon him. And we have a special name for those people, for that generation. We call them Atba' at-Tabi'in. And this is important. The first 3 generations have some special place in Islam, because those were the people who took the message of Islam to everybody else. So the first generation we all know. What is it called? The first generation of Islam. Sahaba. Every Muslim should know that. Sahaba means the companions of the Prophet. Those who accompanied the Prophet wherever he went. They looked at him, they studied with him, they learned from him, and they also practiced what he said. These are the companions or the Sahaba of the Prophet. Then comes the second generation. We call them At-Tabi'un. Tabi'un means the people who did not get a chance to see the Prophet. So they were born after the Prophet died. But they met the companions of the Prophet. So the definition of a tabi'i, tabi'un is a plural, if you know Arabic. So tabi'un are the people who met the companions of the Prophet. And then comes the third generation. And these people we call atba'u tabi'in. And the word tabi'un means followers. Atba'u tabi'in, it means the followers of the followers. So those are the people who did not meet the Sahaba, they met the tabi'un. So it's very simple if you follow it like that. This man, the narrator, he's from the 3rd generation. And just to give you some historical context, this man died in 136 Hijri. What is Hijri? These are terms we all should be familiar with as Muslims. So there are different calendars. The Islamic calendar we use Hijri, which means from the time the Prophet ﷺ made hijrah, migration from Mecca to Medina. So Muslims date from that time. So when I say 136 Hijri, it means 136 years after the migration of the Prophet, the famous migration we all study in the Seerah. Okay, so this man said, قال كنت عند سعيد بن جبير. He said, I was with or sitting with Sa'id bin Jubair. Now Sa'id bin Jubair is from the Tabi'een. So obviously this man is older than the narrator. He's a sheikh, he's a scholar. Maybe he was given a halaqah like this one. So this man was in the halaqah. So Hussein is the student and Sa'id bin Jubair is the teacher. Sa'id bin Jubair is also very famous if you know Islamic history. He was one of the prominent students of Ibn Abbas. And he died rather early, meaning he did not live long. He died before he was 50 years old. He was killed by Al-Hajjaj. And Hajjaj was one of the tyrants at the time. But this man was known for his courage. He was very vocal. Maybe that's what got him killed. Allah knows best. So he said, I was with Sa'id bin Jubair فقال أيكم رأى الكوكب الذي انقض البارحة. So it's interesting how it was in the past, how the teachers were in the past. They used to interact with the students. So they would ask questions. So he said, he was asking his students, who amongst you saw the shooting star last night? Shooting, you all know the shooting star, right? So he said, who amongst you saw that shooting star last night? And Hussein, by the way, there's a difference between Hussein and Hussein. Don't mix it up. In English, if you write it, it'll be maybe the same way, maybe Hussein or something like that. But in Arabic, we have two names. We have Hussein, the famous one, like Barak Hussein. No, just kidding. And we have Hussein. Hussein with the Sad. Okay? So Hussein is not as common, but it is also a valid name. So the narrator's name is Hussein. So Hussein said, I saw the shooting star last night. He said, أنا ثم قلت أما إني لم أكن في صلاة. Then immediately he said, oh, but I was not in prayer. Interesting. Why do you think he said that? So first he said, yeah, I saw the shooting star, and then immediately he said, oh, by the way, I was not in prayer. Can anyone who is very smart tell me why he said that? You saying you're smart?
No.
Like you're pouring on yourself. No? You may know why. Okay, go ahead.
When you're praying, you're supposed to be looking where you're prostrating.
He said when you're praying, you're supposed to look at your place of sujood. Interesting. I never thought of that. You have another question, another idea?
The time that it occurred was the time of the last third of the night.
MashaAllah, yes. So the time it occurred was the last part of the night, and It's the time of Qiyam. Why would he say, I was not in prayer?
Because it's not a normal time that people are normally up. And he didn't want to give the impression that he was...
Good, yeah, keep going. He did not want to give the impression that he was praying while he was not. See, nowadays it's the opposite. Like, we're not really doing a good action, but we want to give the people the impression that we are doing a good action. Like, you want to give the people the impression that you're fasting, or that you pray at night, that you are a pious man or a pious woman. SubhanAllah, in those early generations, it was the opposite. They did not want to give any false impression that I am pious. So he was afraid, like, as soon as he realized that, oh, people know that I woke up, he want to tell them, oh, but I was not in prayer. There was something else that woke me up. What is that? Let's see. So he said, أَمَا إِنِّي لَمْ أَكُنْ فِي صَلَاةٍ وَلَكِنِّي لُدِغْتُ. Rather, the reason I was up was because I was bit. Maybe by a scorpion or something like that. I mean, obviously this area in Mecca is pretty similar to Arizona, right? So the insects or the animals you see there is similar to what we see here in the desert. Like, we have lots of scorpions and snakes and what have you. So scorpions were very common in that area, just like it is common here. So he said, I was bit most likely by a scorpion. He didn't say. And this is why he was up at night. He could not sleep. So the teacher said, قال فما صنعت? What did you do? Hussein said, قال ارتقيت. He said, I sought a ruqya. Can anyone tell me what ruqya is? Anyone has heard of this term, ruqya? Obviously it's Arabic, but not in the back. Anyone? So let me give you the translation first, and you tell me if you heard of it. Thank you. That's not ruqya. Just ruqya can be translated as incantation. Any clue? Incantation. What about charms, they say sometimes. You know what that is?
Are you talking about exorcism?
Not quite. Exorcism. No, not quite. It's simpler than that. Yes?
Sounds like you're talking about magic.
Magic. Not necessarily.
Spell.
Over there. Spell. Good. Over there.
Luck. That was his initial guess.
Luck. Okay.
Spellbound.
Spell what?
Spellbound.
Bound. Okay. Wow. Curse. No. Let's not go that far. Yes, over there.
That'd be a wish.
A wish. Okay. So a ruqya, Islamically speaking, because there's some types of ruqya which are not allowed in Islam. And some of you mentioned examples of that. But what is allowed is anything you recite in hope that you cure someone. For example, if you recite a verse of the Quran or a dua from the Sunnah of the Prophet, these are the only two that are allowed. Either, let's say for example, you recite Fatiha on a person who is sick, who is ill. Or you recite a dua. That's all that is allowed. We call that ruqya. You can translate that as incantation, or you can translate as a charm or something like that. But we have to be careful because some charms are not allowed. The Prophet, for example, said, لا بأس بالرقى ما لم تكن شركا. He said, these charms and incantations are okay as long as they don't contain any shirk, any polytheism, if you will, or paganism. Because some of these are magic, or they might include some words we don't understand, and some funny language or some funny jargon. We don't accept that. So the only type we accept is maybe something from the Quran, especially Fatiha or the last two surahs like قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ الْفَلَقِ, these surahs, right? Those are fine, they're allowed. So that's the only type of incantation or ruqyah that is allowed. So anyway, let's go back to the story. So he said, I sought ruqyah because he was bit by the scorpion, right? And maybe he did not have any medicine back then. There's not much you can do for a bite of a scorpion. You can't take any, I don't know if there was any medication to fight the poison in the body. So ruqyah was a common thing to do. But the Prophet, peace be upon him, taught them to use only the ruqyah from Quran. Okay. Now the teacher kept asking, and I want you to learn from this. This is something important. The fact that the teacher is, he's kind of grilling the student, but he want to get something out. He want to understand why. He want to understand, what made you do what you do? What made you do what you do? Because nowadays what happens, or maybe even, 200-300 years in the Islamic history, if you will, the problem in teaching is that people are dictated. This is what you do, this is halal, this is haram. And there's no understanding, why am I doing this? Why am I supposed to do this? In the past, it wasn't like that. In the beginning of Islam, it was totally different. People, you have to have a reason why you do what you do. Tell me, why are you doing it? What prompted you to do this? So that is the reason for the questioning. So he said, fine, you're doing this, but what made you do it? مَا حَمَلَكَ عَلَى ذَلِكَ? Prove it to me. Give me a proof. Give me an evidence. Obviously, when it comes to incantation, there is no medical proof. There's no scientific proof. Can you scientifically prove that if you read something, it will cure you? So if you don't have a scientific proof, then you need to have a religious proof. You can't just make up stuff. So he said, فَمَا حَمَلَكَ عَلَى ذَلِكَ? What made you do what you did? He said, قُلْتُ حَدِيثٌ حَدَّثَنَاهُ الشَّعْبِي. He said, there's a hadith, which means there's a proof. There's a hadith, there's a prophetic statement, a statement by the Prophet, peace be upon him. That is a proof. He said, there's a hadith narrated by Ash-Sha'bi. And Ash-Sha'bi is one of the famous scholars of hadith. He's also a tabi'i, so he's from the second generation. And this scholar was amazing. He said, I never wrote any hadith down. It was all up here. He memorized every hadith. He did not have to write hadith down. He died 103 Hijri. Anyway, he said there was a hadith that was narrated to us by Ash-Sha'bi. So the teacher said, قَالَ وَمَا حَدَّثَكُمْ? He said, what did he narrate to you? Tell me the hadith. Show me the proof. قُلْتُ حَدَّثَنَا عَنْ بُرَيْدَةَ بْنِ الْحُصَيْبِ. So Ash-Sha'bi now narrates from Buraydah ibn al-Husayb. Buraydah is a companion. Ash-Sha'bi is from the second generation. Buraydah is a companion. See, the chain of narration has to be complete. You cannot omit someone. There has to be a full chain of narration. By the way, you don't find that in other religions. If I ask, someone, what did Musa say? They will say, oh, he said this, this, and this. I ask, give me a chain of narration to Musa himself, to Moses. It does not exist. But in Islam, we have this. Everything that the Prophet said, we have a chain of narration. We know who said it, who narrated it. And that's really important because then we can see, well, this narrator is trustworthy, he never told any lie in his life, and so on. We can tell which hadith is authentic, we can trust, and which hadith is weak. So he said, حدثنا عن بريدة بن الحصيب أنه قال لا رقية إلا من عين أو حمى. He said the hadith is narrated from Buraidah, who narrated from the Prophet, who said there is no ruqya, there is no incantation or a charm, if you will. There's no ruqya except from two things: the evil eye and the bite, the poisonous bite. The poisonous bite. Huma is like a poisonous bite. The subject of the evil eye is too long to discuss. We're not going to discuss now. If you have any questions, maybe we can talk about it later. Maybe there are a lot of questions about it. Because again, as far as the evil eye is concerned, there's no physical or scientific evidence. Okay? So it is in a different realm. And we need, like I said, more time to explain. But let's focus on the part that is relevant here. So he said, there's no ruqya that is better or more suitable than for two cases. One case is the evil eye, and the other case is the poisonous bite. So obviously this man is following an evidence. He said, see, this hadith said, ruqya is great for bites, for poisonous bites. And this is why I sought ruqya. So I sought the cure through ruqya because of this. The teacher said, قَدْ أَحْسَنَ مَنْ انْتَهَى إِلَى مَا سَمِعَ. He said, this is great. I'm really impressed. It's great that you act upon what you hear. So you have a proof, and the proof goes all the way to the Prophet, peace be upon him. So you're acting upon evidence. You're not just acting because you feel like it or because of culture. You know, nowadays, a lot of Muslims, if you ask them, why are you doing what you're doing? They say, oh, I just saw people doing it. Or, it's in my culture. Like, why do you do it? Is it part of Islam? And they don't know. They don't know. They cannot separate culture from Islam. And this is why now we have the term cultural Islam. I mean, there's no such a thing as cultural Islam. There's only one Islam. And that is Islam that came from the Prophet. But nowadays, people cannot tell the difference. This is why it is important to look for the evidence. Are you doing it because of something that is found in the Quran? Are you doing it because of something that the Prophet said? Or are you doing it because this is how it's been? This is how the people in my locality have done it. That doesn't mean much. Who knows what that came from? So he said, this is great that you're acting upon what you learned. But then he said, walakin, however, this is not the only evidence, and this is why we need to be careful. Just finding one hadith, and that's the other extreme. Some people find one hadith and say, see, this is a hadith, and that's it. That's not enough. You have to have knowledge. You have to know the other narrations, the other proof. This is why it's important to learn from scholars. Because scholars know not just one hadith or two. And some people now, they listen to one lecture on YouTube and they think they are scholars. They think they are ulama or alim. This is why you need a scholar. Because they've learned not just one narration or just one verse or the meaning of just one ayah or hadith. No, they have spent their lives learning. So he said, this is great, but now we know there's a correction here. Like your understanding may not be complete here. There's something else you have to know. There's another narration you have to know about. And aren't we glad that he did? Because this is how we're going to learn about the 70,000 people. Okay. He said, rather, Ibn Abbas narrated to me. Remember, Sa'id bin Jubair, the teacher, He's from the Tabi'een, and he is the direct student of Ibn Abbas. Who is Ibn Abbas? Anyone? This one is easy, you should know this. Who is Ibn Abbas? Over there.
Son of the uncle.
Son of the uncle, so he is the cousin. He's of course a Sahabi, and he's also the cousin of the Prophet ﷺ. Because the son of the uncle is, by the way, your cousin, right? Kind of? You're not sure? Maybe? Okay. So, he said, وَلَكِنْ حَدَّثَنَا. And by the way, Ibn Abbas was young at the time of the Prophet ﷺ, and the Prophet made a special dua for Ibn Abbas. He said, Allahumma فقهه في الدين وعلمه التأويل. It means, oh Allah, teach him the understanding of the religion. Something we lack nowadays so much. People might, know, or they might memorize, but they don't understand. Fiqh in Arabic, it doesn't just mean knowing how to pray or how to make wudu. Fiqh means to understand. The word fiqh, when you see it in the Quran, لِيَفْقَهُ قَوْلِي, when Prophet Musa said it, it means to understand. لِيَتَفَقَّهُ فِي الدِّينِ, to understand the religion. It's not enough just to memorize or to read, it is important to understand. So Prophet ﷺ made dua for Ibn Abbas, oh Allah, make him understand the religion and give him also the understanding of the Quran. Ta'wil is to be able to explain the Quran. And this is why Ibn Abbas is maybe the most known Sahabi for exegesis, which means to interpret and explain the verses of the Quran. And he died in 68 Hijri. I'm sure you all are memorizing these dates because they're going to be, oh no, I'm just kidding. Hopefully not, right? Okay. All right, now are you ready? This is now the narration that's going to tell us about the 70,000 people. So he said, Ibn Abbas narrated from the Prophet, peace be upon him, that he said, عُرِضَتْ عَلَيَّ الْأُمَمِ فَرَأَيْتُ النَّبِيِّ وَمَعَهُ الرَّهَطِ. He said, the nations, so now the Prophet is telling us this. He said, the nations were shown to me. Now when I say that, what do you think? I mean, how was it shown to the Prophet? In what setting? How did he see those nations? Did he see them while he was awake and conscious? In what occasion did he see them? I mean, that's the kind of question that should come to your mind, right? I mean, anything you read, I would encourage all of you, anything you read in the Quran or the Sunnah or anywhere else, your mind should be asking you those questions. How do you think the Prophet was exposed to these nations? How did he see those nations? In a dream. Actually, that's a very good guess. Some scholars have said he saw them in the journey, the night journey, Isra and Mi'raj. But I prefer the opinion that says he saw them in a dream. Now the dream of a prophet is a much better quality than our dreams. The dream of a prophet actually is always a true dream. So he cannot be seeing things that are incorrect or maybe the inspiration of shaitan or something like that. So whatever he sees in a dream is true and is reality. So he said, the nations were shown to me. And then I saw, فَرَأَيْتُ النَّبِيِّ وَمَعَهُ الرَّهَطِ. I saw the Prophet, and he had, a few people with him. Ar-Rahat is like anywhere between 3 and 10. So not more than 10 people. So this Prophet had only few followers. So imagine a prophet who spent all his life. What is the job of a prophet, by the way? What do prophets do? And I hope you can tell the difference between profit, like when you make money, profit, and profit. Maybe some people are wondering.
Convey the message to
How do you spell profit? Like money-wise?
Profite.
P-R-O-F-I-T. Good. And what about prophet, the messenger? How do you spell that?
Prophet.
P-R-O-P-H-E-T. So they're different. They're not the same. Okay. So he saw a prophet with only few followers. What is the job of a prophet? You had a hand over there.
The job of the prophet is like deliver the message of Allah and teach people how to live and that kind of stuff.
Okay. So the job of a prophet, he said, is to deliver a message from Allah and to teach people how to live. It's a pretty good answer, actually. Scholars now, they distinguish between a messenger and a prophet. Again, maybe it's not a good time here to expound on that. If you have questions on that, we can address them later. Let's assume now that a prophet and a messenger are kind of similar. A prophet is tasked by God to deliver a message to people. And usually the content of the message is something that human beings on their own cannot tell or cannot know. This is why prophets did not teach us science, because science is something that we could learn on our own. Just by observation, empirical evidence, we can come up with theories and facts about, stuff around us. Stuff we could observe, we could measure. So the job of a prophet is to teach us things that we do not know otherwise. We cannot know otherwise. That's why we refer to them as unseen, ghaib. Unseen is something you cannot really measure, you cannot observe. So you cannot, you cannot learn through science. So it seems that this is a scene from the day of judgment. But the Prophet, peace be upon him, saw it in this life, just to tell us how it's going to be like. Okay? So on the day of judgment, people will be grouped according to who they follow. So, for example, if you followed a famous, singer or something like that, he was your role model in life, maybe you'll be behind this man or woman. If you loved a soccer player and he was your role model, he's everything to you, and you almost worshipped him, that might be the person you're standing behind. The point is, on the day of judgment, there'll be leaders and followers. Leaders are, people who had many following, and then the followers, right? In the old days, obviously, there were prophets, right? So each and every prophet will have a following. And this actually is telling us that in some cases, some prophets who spent all their lives teaching people, calling people to Islam or to monotheism, and preaching all their lives, they only were able to get few followers. Like, imagine you had nothing else to do but to go on Chandler Boulevard, or on Baseline, and ask people and tell people about Islam and teach them about the religion. And you did that every single day of your life, and then at the end you only had 7 followers. Nowadays, so-called da'is, big names, right? Da'iya, also like excessive form of da'i, and they make one call or they preach once, and if they don't have 100 or 1,000 followers, they get upset. And if a da'i, a famous da'i, does not have 100,000 followers on Facebook or on Twitter, they get upset. But imagine a prophet of God who spent all their lives calling people to Islam, and they only had 3, 4, 5, maybe 9 followers. Not only that, look, he said, وَالنَّبِيَّ وَمَعْهُ الرَّجُلُ وَرَجُلَانِ. And I saw other prophets, and they only had 1 or 2 followers. And then he said, وَالنَّبِيَّ وَلَيْسَ مَعَهُ أَحَدٍ. And I saw a prophet who had no followers. Imagine, some prophets had no followers. Spent all their lives teaching, preaching, not a single follower. What do you get out of that? This is really important. This is a big lesson here. What do you get out of that? There's a big lesson here. I hope you see it. Yes?
Followers don't matter?
Followers do not matter. Yes?
Well, I mean, if you're a prophet of God and your mission is to tell people about Islam, and if you're telling people about Islam, you've done your job. Whether or not they decide to follow is up to them. Obviously, some people are not going to follow you.
Excellent, yes. So he said, if you are a prophet of God and you're telling people about Islam, your job is to deliver the message. Your job is not to guarantee that they follow it. In fact, Allah in the Quran said it, that even the Prophet Muhammad, who was the most successful prophet as far as preaching and converting people, he told him, you have nothing to do with it. You do not guide people. He said, Allah guides people, not you. So you're not responsible whether people respond to your message or not. But the key message here is, numbers do not matter. Some people come to you and say, this group must be right because they have so many followers. Wrong. Not right. Not correct. Doesn't matter. Who can be more guided than prophets? And some of them did not have a single follower. So somebody came to you and say, nowadays the atheists are taking over and they're like 75% of this country. Doesn't matter. Christians are the highest number in the world. Doesn't matter. Even among Muslims, not every group is on the right path. I don't care how many they are, it does not matter. Numbers do not count. Numbers do not count. It does not matter how many people you have as followers. It does not mean that you are on the right path. In fact, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Quran, وَمَا أَكْثَرُ النَّاسِ وَلَوْ حَرَصْتَ بِمُؤْمِنِينَ. The majority of the people will not be believers, even if you try. This is again addressing Prophet Muhammad. It told him, even if you try, the vast majority of people will not be believers. And this is one of the misconceptions or doubts that some people have. They come to you and say, hey, you look around you, most people are not Muslims, so maybe Islam is not the correct religion or something like that. It doesn't matter. The number of people does not matter. Allah told us in the Quran already. You don't have to come and tell me this. It's already mentioned in the Quran, the vast majority of people, or the majority of people, even if you try, they're not going to believe. Like even if Prophet Muhammad was sent today, still the majority of people will not believe. وَمَا أَكْثَرُ النَّاسِ وَلَوْ حَرَصْتَ بِمُؤْمِنِينَ. Okay. We still have a lot of material to go, so let me speed up a little bit. Okay. And then he said, so now you see, you understand the setting. So we have now Prophet Muhammad observing the other prophets, the other nations, and he could already see some prophets who have few followers, other prophets who have no followers. And then all of a sudden, إِذْ رُفِعَ لِي سَوَادٌ عَظِيمٌ. All of a sudden I see plenty of people, like a large number of people in the horizon. I see a large number of people in the horizon. فَظَنَنْتُ أَنَّهُمْ أُمَّتِي. So I thought that this was my nation. I thought this was my ummah. My ummah. And ummah just means community. It means a religious community. So I thought this was my ummah. Because the Prophet knew that he's going to have a large following. فَقِيلَ لِي هَذَا مُوسَى وَقَوْمُهُ. He said, no, these people are the followers of Musa, of Moses, alayhi salam. Now Musa had many followers in his lifetime and after his lifetime. And these are the people who followed Musa. Basically, these are the people who followed the correct religion of Musa, or they followed Musa as he taught, the religion. So not anyone who claims to follow Musa, but those who really followed Musa. That's what I'm trying to say. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran, He said, وَفَضَّلْنَاهُمْ عَلَى الْعَالَمِينَ. We have chosen those people over everyone else. And someone might come and say, oh, that means that they are better than Muslims. No, it means that these people were better than others in that time. In that time, not now. Just to make it clear. فَنَظَرْتُ فَإِذَا سَوَادٌ عَظِيمٌ. And then the Prophet looked around and he saw even a larger crowd, a larger number of people. And they were blocking the horizon, so he did not see people by face, by the way. That's the meaning of sawad. It means he saw a large number of people and he could not recognize faces because there were so many and far away. So he was told, he said, and I was told, the Prophet was told, هذه أمتك ومعه 70,000 يدخلون الجنة بغير حساب ولا عذاب. So he was told, this is your community, this is your nation, these are your followers. And with them, this is like a bonus, right? And with them comes 70,000 people who will enter Jannah without any reckoning, no questioning, no torment, nothing. You go to Jannah directly. Not a single day, not a single minute of punishment. So they don't go through Jahannam at all. And Allah doesn't even ask any question of them. And now the curiosity of the companions shut up. So what the Prophet did, I don't know if he did that on purpose. He got up and left. Maybe he wanted the companions to think about it for a little bit. Like, who are these people? I mean, they're so curious. If we had more time, I would have maybe given some time too for you to think, right? Just like the Prophet did. By the way, this is okay because sometimes the narrators of hadith would imitate something that the Prophet did. Like, for example, if the Prophet was saying something and he maybe lifted a cup of water and drank from it, the narrator of that hadith would do the same thing. And then the narrator of that narrator would do the same thing. And it becomes part of the narration from generation to generation. There's a special type of that hadith that we study. But we don't have time now to do that. So the Prophet got up and left. And the companions started wondering who these people are. And that shows you how interested they were in this. I wonder nowadays if Muslims see hadith like that, I wonder if they care to think who these people are, or if we qualify. They might think, well, these are maybe the good people in the past and we don't even qualify, so why bother? This is not the right attitude. Anyone can qualify to be from these 70,000 people, those special people. And first and foremost, you should think, well, maybe I can be one of those people. I want to see what I can do to be one of those people. So, some of them said, فَلَعَلَّهُمْ الَّذِينَ صَحِبُوا رَسُولَ اللَّهِ. Maybe these are the people who accompanied the Prophet. Maybe they are the companions of the Prophet, because those are special people. Those are the people who defended the Prophet, they protected the Prophet, they were with them, all of that. And others said, فَلَعَلَّهُمْ الَّذِينَ وُلِدُوا فِي الْإِسْلَامِ فَلَمْ يُشْرِكُوا بِاللَّهِ شَيْئًا. They said, maybe these are the people who were born in Islam and they never committed any act of shirk. They never associated anyone with God. Why do you think they said that?
Because they were vegan. Sahaba before that, they were mushrikeen.
They were, exactly. Because the companions, although they were great, but sometime in their lives, they were pagans, right? And then they converted to Islam. If somebody was born a Muslim, they never ever worshipped anyone except God, except Allah, maybe that's a good reason for them to qualify. Now luckily, it's neither, because if that was the case, I mean, if it was the Sahaba, then we would not qualify at all. And if it was the second one, then everybody would qualify, right? So there has to be something more precise. Then the Prophet came out, and he realized that these people were still talking about, that topic. And some narration says like he spent some time, he was away for a while, and then he came back and said, "Are you guys still talking about this?" And then he told them the answer. And he said, and by the way, this shows us that it is okay if we're together sitting down and let's say we are reading a hadith, we are reading a verse of the Quran, it's okay to start thinking about what it means and how can I apply it. I mean, why do you think the companions were discussing this? Was it just, for the fun of thought and, debate? Was it the reason, or was it something else? Why do you think they were debating this? Who these people are? Because they want to be from these people. That's exactly why. So then the Prophet said, they are the people, and he mentioned 4 qualities. الذين لا يسترقون ولا يكتوون ولا يتطيرون وعلى ربهم يتوكلون. How long has it been? I've not been keeping track of time. 50? 50? Oh, that's long. I'll try, inshallah, to speed up a little bit. We don't have much left, inshallah. I thought the story was interesting. That's why I'm spending more time on the story. But I hope you like it. Okay. So he said these people have 4 qualities. And that's really the important part, so let's pay attention here. Number 1, he said, لا يسترقون. Number 2, لا يكتوون. Number 3, لا يتطيرون. And number 4, على ربهم يتوكلون. Okay, number 1, لا يسترقون. They do not seek ruqya from someone else. Now, that's interesting because we know in Islam, like I said, it is allowed to do ruqya. It is allowed, for example, if you have some sickness and you say, I don't feel like going to the doctor and I want to do something else, it's okay to say, قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ الْفَلَقِ. You read it on yourself or have someone read it to you. That's fine. It's totally allowed. But here, remember, we're not talking about what is allowed. We're talking about some very select, special group of people. That's number 1. Number 2, notice here that they are not seeking it from someone else. Because when you seek it from someone else, it means that you are attached to this person who's going to do it to you. Some scholars have mentioned that. Especially if he's pious. Like usually you go to a pious man and say, can you make dua for me? That's allowed. But what can happen, sometimes you have some reliance on this person. Indirectly, like without thinking about it. Instead of relying on Allah. Now you're going to see one common theme here for all these people. The one common theme is tawakkul. The people, the 70,000 people are excellent. They have 4.0 GPA on tawakkul. This is what qualifies you to be from the 70,000. Tawakkul means you have full reliance on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, on God. That's really the distinguishing quality of all these people. Now, people have a different, or some people have a wrong understanding of tawakkul. They think tawakkul is when I rely on Allah, I don't do my job. No, that's not the meaning of tawakkul. Tawakkul means you do everything possible in your power, in your capacity. But your heart is fully dependent and reliant on Allah. You do everything possible with your limbs, but the heart is fully dependent and reliant and attached to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is really the essence of tawakkul. The second quality, so I jumped to the 4th one because that's the main one, but let's go over the other 2. So we mentioned istirqa, which is to go and seek ruqya from someone else. The other one is yaktabun. which I think means, I forgot to look it up, I think it means to cauterize. You know, in the old days, if you had a cut and there were no stitches, there was a more painful way to cure that wound, and that is to get a hot rod or hot iron, and you just put it on the wound, and it'll burn and seal. That's how you seal it. So that's, I think, called cautery, if I'm not wrong, or you cauterize the wound. So he said, these people don't do that. Again, the reason is because this method is allowed. I mean, it's the only method, right? You have to cure yourself, right? But there were some people who thought that this cautery is beneficial on its own, without God intervening. So they had, again, this dependence, this reliance on that thing, which is a cautery in that case, instead of fully reliant on Allah. So if somebody, for example, went and cauterized himself while fully believing that it is God who cures, and this cautery is nothing but a method, a means, then it's okay. But the fear here is that sometimes, because of fear, like people get so paranoid and anxious, and they start believing in this thing. They think, oh, this is going to cure me, and they forget Allah. Then you don't qualify to be from the 70,000. So this is very, very delicate. I mean, we have to understand what the Prophet ﷺ is saying here. And the last quality, لا يتطيرون. That's really important as well. They don't believe in bad omen. Only yesterday was Friday the 13th. Some people think evil things happen on Friday the 13th. And that's an example of bad omen. That's what bad omen is. Basically, people believe in superstitious things and they think it'll be harmful or evil. So the people who do not do that, who do not believe in that, qualify to be from the 70,000 people. You know, by the way, this is a problem nowadays. Some people think, some non-Muslims, think that Islam, or religion in general, advocates superstition. I cannot think of anything, or any religion that fought superstition more than Islam. Some atheists nowadays, for example, think that religion in general advocates or promotes superstition. But you look in Islam, you study the true Islam, you see it always fought this tendency, the human tendency, and their love for superstition. Things that are not true, they're like kind of a myth, and people believe in it. So Islam says, bad omen is incorrect, it doesn't have any reality, there's no truth to it. You should not believe in it. If something happened on the street, you're going to work, and something happened on the street, you say, oh, this street is bad, I'm going to take a different route. Islam says, no, take the same route, there's no harm in it. It's just a coincidence. Otherwise, you believe in bad omen. You think, oh, this date is bad. Monday, I had an accident on Monday, so Mondays are bad. Or maybe Wednesdays, I don't know, there's something about Wednesdays, I think. See, because it could be that something happened maybe multiple times on a particular date, and now people think, oh, this date is bad, or this particular locality is bad, because several accidents happened on that corner. Islam says, no. It's just a coincidence. You don't believe in that. And the people who do that, who do not believe in that, they are also from the 70,000. So it's not too hard to be from the 70,000. But if you keep that in mind and you live your life accordingly, you have full reliance on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you don't have any, your heart does not attach to the physical means, although they are true, but you don't attach your heart to them. You don't attach your heart to anyone who you think can benefit you, because only Allah can benefit you. You still go and seek it, no problem, but your heart should not attach to it. Likewise, you don't believe in these superstitious things. I'm losing my speech now. I'm tired too. Then, inshallah, you qualify for the 70,000, for those 70,000 people. Okay. just to finish, there's a conclusion. When the Prophet made that statement, there was one companion, very intelligent companion. His name is Ukasha bin Mihsan. He said, Prophet, can you make dua to Allah that I will be from the 70,000? He was like the first one to raise his hand. And the Prophet said, you are from them. Or he made dua for him to be from them. And then another man raised his hand. And he said, can you make dua for me too? And the Prophet said, too late. سَبَقَكَ بِهَا Ukasha. Ukasha beat you to it. He beat you to it. Why do you think the Prophet did that? I mean, he didn't want to open the way, because if he opened the door, then everybody would raise his hand, and that's not the way to accomplish it. You have to work for it. And I'm sure the reason Ukasha got in is because he qualified truly, not because, he raised his hand, but the Prophet saw that he qualified, or that Ukasha lived up to it, and he did what was mentioned in this hadith. So, I want to wrap it up here. This is, briefly what it takes to be from these 70,000 people who will enter Jannah. And by the way, the prerequisite to this, because I said this is a very special group of people, but the prerequisite is to believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to believe in one God, the Creator. And to worship Him and not to associate anyone with Him. This is really the bottom line. And then above that, you attach yourself to this Creator, to this one God, and you love Him more than anything else. You fear Him more than anything else. You hope in His mercy more than anything else. And you have full reliance on Him. And there's a great benefit too, that when you do that, your stress level will go down so much. If you are able to have full dependence and reliance, and I'm saying the heart, not the limbs, you should be busy, you should do the work. But if your heart is fully dependent on Allah, your stress level will go down considerably. Your suicidal tendencies will go down quite as well. Hopefully no one of you have them, but this is really, important, because people live miserable lives because they're so scared and paranoid of what can happen. If you have this true reliance on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that He's taking care of my affairs, that I don't have to worry about it, I'll do my best, but I'll leave the rest on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay, inshallah enough. So here I think I'll stop the video. I'm not even looking to see if there are any questions. I apologize if I missed any questions online. But here I'll stop, inshallah, so we can do the quiz. Unfortunately, people online cannot participate in the quiz, and they cannot earn any prizes. But Jazakumullah khair for listening and for attending and for watching as well. Subhanakallahumma bihamdik, nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. If there are any questions online, yeah, we can take questions online as well. So if you have any questions, and also here. Saad, you have to ask questions directly. You cannot ask through.
I know.
Okay.
To tie to the story that you were talking about, so the Atba' Tabi'in, when he was giving the story, and he indicated that he sought ruqya. So based on the hadith now that you talk about, so the wisdom was, even though he had that knowledge to seek, that he said he sought ruqya, so he should not seek ruqya. Was that the lesson to be learned?
Good. So this is actually good. Trying to tie the first hadith with the second hadith, because we know two hadith cannot contradict each other. They were both said by the Prophet himself. The first hadith said, there is no ruqya better than the ruqya of or from the poisonous bite. And the second hadith said, if you want to qualify to be from the 70,000, do not seek it. See, the first hadith is not talking about seeking. It just said, do it. You can do it yourself. If someone can offer it to you, that's totally fine. However, this narrator, Hussein, took it further. He went and sought ruqya. The hadith did not say seek it. He said it's good to do it, right? So that's a good point. Okay, I think we do have a question here. What about the 70,000s for each 70,000 increase given by Allah? So the brother here is asking, there is actually a narration found in some books of hadith, which I believe is authentic, that says the Prophet, when he saw that, and this is a double bonus, if you will, when he saw that he only had 70,000, because 70,000 is not a big number, by the way. Now we have 1.5 billion Muslims alone, just Muslims, not to mention other people. So 70,000 is not a big number. So he said, can you increase? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him 1,000, he gave him 70,000 for each 1,000. And I think at one time I did the calculation, it came up to be 5 million or something like that. So that's even better news that we may have more than 70,000. But it's traditional among scholars that they stick with the 70,000 because that's the original hadith. But yeah, it's likely that it went up more than that, much more than that. Yes?
So the yaktawun, so we can argue that's kind of was the high-tech medicine at the time. So could it extend to say when you seek medical treatment, you have to stay conscious that if the healing comes from God first, it's not just yaktawun, it's anything
Yes,
else.
very good. So yeah, it's not just cautery. Anything similar to it, like nowadays he said, if you go to the doctor, also keep in mind that any cure you're seeking is only a means, and the one who cures is Allah. Have full reliance on Allah. Anywhere you go, any hospital you go to, any doctor you go to, remember, no matter how advanced that medicine is, remember that it is only Allah who cures. Very good point. Here's a comment, 70,000 is a drop in a bucket. Yes, it is. Yeah, I mean, you have to work for it. It's not, easy. Okay, so let us, inshallah, stop here. We'll do the quiz. I think some people left already. So your chances have increased now to earn a prize. That's good, right? And I apologize, I think it took a little longer than I thought. It's a long story. Okay? So, assalamu alaikum for the people online. And inshallah, we